Good evening. My name is Daniel Young. I'm the owner and founder of Adaptive Perspective and the Adaptive Perspective channel here on YouTube, where I help you make your dreams a reality. Our stock market investment strategy uses closed-end funds. I've hit 59 other videos at least about closed-end funds. If you want the full methodology about our 12 steps to financial freedom, then head over to Facebook and check out my page there called Adapt Perspective, Navigate Your Finances, where I give you the entire framework for the 12 steps for free. Uh, our portfolio is based on lasting dividends, not the gradual sell off of own funds. That means the day-to-day, week-to-week pricing fluctuations don't bother me or weigh me down. And that's very different from most market advisors. And I've talked about that in past videos as well. That means, so if we're not withdrawing funds, we have a no withdrawal portfolio that is designed to fund or supplement our retirement through dividends instead of slow cash outs. It's not completely built on a buy and hold strategy. Some of the funds are forever funds. Others are held based upon the market. We target dividends and not the 2% or 0.5% dividends. I'm talking 9% plus dividends that pay consistently. That allows us to keep our principal funds invested and earning. And then it gives us the option to either reinvest the dividends or then at some point cash out the dividends. So how do we do this? Reminders, this is an unedited video. You've seen me make 2 goof ups so far. Who knows what else you'll hear as I film these at my house. It's currently the cat's witching hour, so they'll be roaming the house, I'm sure. Disclaimers. See the description for the full disclaimers. The only 2 that I'll mention here are that I am not a financial advisor. I am a financial strategist, and that I don't speak like the herd. I walk in limited company, and sometimes I walk alone. I am completely okay with that. I'm pretty sure I'm going to walk alone in what I suggest we do for next week. Overall mindset. So regardless of current pricing, the market looks forward. Regardless of how much you know, there is still risk. You can increase your knowledge and decrease the risk, but there is still risk. The more you learn and improve your ability to project the market, the better you do in the long run. And the more you understand that many of these financial firms, and even honestly, even the people that I really enjoy listening to, hinge on everything the Fed says and take what the Fed says as absolute truth, the more you'll understand how the game is played and how your strategy fits into that system. And I don't watch the news. If you've seen my videos before, you'll have heard me. You've heard me say more than once, more than who knows how many times. I don't watch the news, but what I do watch is the CNN Fear and Greed Index. It's a decent gauge on overall market confidence. And when that market gauge is in greed, unless you can find a great dollar cost average deal or just a really good discount, when it's in greed and everything's selling for more than it's worth, or everything is, yes, selling for more than it's worth, then it's generally a good time to kind of sit and wait. And when that gauge drops back into fear and extreme fear, then that's the time to scoop discounts. So based on our strategy, where would I park money? First and foremost, let's get into, well, I realize first and foremost could have been done a while back. But before I tell you where I would park money, you got to understand the current economy. So the Fed is hinting at least one more rate hike. And you've got the market advisors overall split on when that's going to happen. Some people think it'll happen this month. Some people think it'll happen at the end of the year. But you kind of have to wonder why inflation is still running rampant. Housing loans are higher than they've been in years. There's a surplus of homes given the market because people can't afford Not so much they can't afford the house, they can't afford the loan. Uh, yeah, the market is down for lots of different reasons. Oil is Oil has been on a recent downward slope that makes no sense. So the supply got cut and the demand is fixed at this point. It's not quite holiday traveling season, but it's also not summer. So the demand, at least the last month and a half or two, has been fairly fixed in relation to the rest of the year. But with supply being cut, oil should have gone up, which means gas prices should have gone up. But the last 2 weeks, oil or at least gas prices has gone down. And then you factor in the Middle East and you factor in just the ongoing stuff with Russia and Ukraine and China and Taiwan. And it doesn't make sense that gas is now cheaper. It makes sense if you're trying to make the economy look good, but it doesn't make sense that gas is cheaper. And why would inflation still be high? Um, a couple months ago, the Fed hinted, they didn't broadcast it like they used to, but they weren't grandiose in their announcement, but the Fed started printing money again. And they didn't start printing a lot of money. I mean, we have inflation because the Fed printed $4 trillion in a very short amount of time and then went, oh my gosh, I had no idea that adding $4 trillion of just straight cash would devalue the dollar. We had no idea. So the same idiots that, well, so they're really not idiots. They're master manipulators. But the same idiots who caused inflation are now tasked with fixing it. And at the same time, they're printing more money while they're raising rates. It makes no sense unless they're going to try to really say, if the market's down and they're printing money and the Fed, if the market is down and the Fed is printing money, now they can buy certain aspects of the market and scoop an amazing deal from something they intentionally caused. It also makes sense if they're going to suddenly start cutting rates going into an election year. So they can say, oh my gosh, the economy is so amazing. Look, we're cutting rates. We're doing well. So they can keep their jobs and keep their control and keep their power. So beyond that, how does that impact where we're going to go in the market? So where would we go based on our strategy? And if we're buying Monday, I would look at bonds. I would look at oil, tech, because tech is down finally, or see if you can find a portfolio in a can, which is kind of like a roller coaster ride just because it really does go up and down. So let me share my screen and I will share my strategy. So this is the closed-end fund master, and I will not overview the whole system this week. We're going to take our top targets and paste them into this worksheet that I've updated just a little bit. So this out of the way. So the targets. So 3 asterisks is a buy alert. 2, if it were on here, would be a dollar cost average for our portfolio. 1 would be a tracking, but it's just the list of 3. Light blue is everything we own. Green is things we track, and purple is recommended by somebody else. And our portfolio, I went back and sold 2 funds this past week. Just Aberdeen runs a good bond fund, the Pacific Rim Bond Fund, but their consumer portfolios I am not happy with. I started with one based on a recommendation and just not happy with how that went. This fund bought out the fund that we originally started with, and not happy with the direction they've taken. So instead of waiting for them to struggle their way back up to break even or even 20% gains, I just went ahead and sold the fund and reinvested. And I took my own advice from last week on by IGR and bought IGR at the end of the week for just an amazing deal. Um, an amazing deal. And it it's say it was a great dollar cost average deal because that was pretty much $7. We got it for extremely cheap, but it wasn't just a great dollar cost average deal. It was a great deal based upon our strategy. So how we do this, all of these are ranked based on the overall discount. We're not looking to buy anything we don't already have. That means I keep everything. Well, that means I keep the blue stuff and I get rid of everything else. One more. So all of these are in discount territory, and they're all significantly different than their historical values, which is why they have a 3 asterisk. So let's look at targeted yields. I always like them in reverse. Actually, let's do it this way. We're going to focus on monthly dividends. If you've watched my videos for a while, you will know and remember that I love KYN, I love FGB. I'm like all these funds we've bought for various reasons. 3 of EOD we're keeping until at this rate we're keeping until it's profitable. We'll see if the fund turns around in the next year. It's predominantly a tech fund, as is HTY, but they face a lot of up and down dividends versus HTY is consistent. But we get rid of these. Now we just have monthly dividends. So let's look at the overall yield. The goal has been to target 10% and above. So all of these are then viable options. But let's sort it down further. So let's look at bonds, and all of these have a bond component for the most part. IGR is just real estate. HLB has a small bond component, I believe. These are bonds, but they're also convertible and more banking related. Senior loans, bonds, closed-end funds, like they have their own closed-end fund portfolio. GLO is a portfolio in a can. Let's see, HGLB, no. PRW, despite their growing closed-end fund portfolio, still likes the aggressive Fed. So this lackadaisical Fed that doesn't know if it's going to raise rates or not doesn't really play into that strategy. GLO is a portfolio in a can, and it's actually up on the screen above for a reason. HFRO is just a bond company. It's been the most heavily discounted fund for months on end. They pay a stellar dividend. They pay a great yield because, I mean, just price-wise, the share cost is decreased, which so long as the dividend stays the same, that means the yield goes up. But our overall strategy is also somewhat dependent on, it's not a strategy per se, is more like a goal. My goal has been to get all of our long-term funds up to 200 shares or more. It worked out that we could buy the same amount of shares of IGR that we already had. Like we had 150. See, Google Sheets will do the math for you. So we had 150, we bought 150, now we have 300. It's kind of been my goal to increase the funds that we're going to keep for a while to 200. And factored into that is buying funds based on first discount and then based on overall yield. Well, so discount, but really the strategy is how that discount relates to the historical value, which is why all these cells have little notes. So is the discount significant? Yes. And then after that, is it, say, depending on when you want it paid, is it monthly or other? Look at the overall yield. And then lastly would be, we're looking at overall price, because all of us, for the most part, have limited funds in how we're going to invest. So I don't want to pay $100 a share for something. So it's how cheap can I get it? And is it a great deal? And will it pay me long term? So getting back, NML is oil, NVXG is tech, ZTR and GLO are both portfolio in a can. And they're roller coaster rides. So if you keep them long term, you're buying low, keeping high, buying low, keeping high, or depending on your strategy, maybe it's buying low, selling high at some point, wait for it to drop, buy low again, sell it high. So you can do this version, like the buy low, sell high. You're just hoping to buy low, sell at 20%, buy low, sell at 20%, versus I'm more interested in kind of riding the curve. The end share price doesn't matter until I sell the company. So looking at it from a dividend perspective, it changes the strategy, because the dividend will pay regardless of where the company goes. So of what we have left, we have 200 shares of ZTR. 465 would be an amazing dollar cost average option. HFRO, and that's really why I keep this giant spreadsheet, among other things. CTR 671, currently 465, like almost a $2 difference. Same thing for GLO based on when we bought it. HFRO, let's see, 898 still, $7, almost $2 difference. NVXG is about 40 cents different. 93, 53 cents. NML is about 6 cents. So where would I put money? NML is tempting because lately it has not been at this significant of a discount. And it a 5-cent dollar cost average doesn't exactly overwhelmingly shrink our overall buy-in price. I think it decreases it $1 if we buy 50 shares. NVXG, I think, is great long term. We could easily pick up 50 shares there. ZTR would be a great dollar cost average buy in its overall portfolio in a can. HFRO bonds, another great buy at where it is right now. And then GLO, same thing, another great buy, another great dollar cost average. So where do we decide? How do we look? And if I look at NML on Morningstar, they're set up really well. I mean, they're set up really well. If we look at the overall portfolio, it's energy and utilities. And then they take care of the diversification for you. If we look at GLO, which that's their overall page, this is the Morningstar page. Consumer, which is up and down crazy right now. Financial, comms, energy, industrial, tech, healthcare. But on their page, you can see a little bit more. So you can see every company they own within their portfolio. So all the common stock, want to say it's US Treasuries, and then they do have some bonds and then some other stuff. And honestly, that's my temptation because I can pick up 100 shares of that. Nice. It forgot my formula. So this equals, oh, no, it didn't. I'm doing my formula wrong. So our current shares, 100, 200, 250 in ML. So we could pick up 100 shares here, right? We could pick up 50 shares there. I just know based on our existing, if our value is 500, which I think it's 550. CTR, we could pick up 100 shares. NBXG, we could pick up 50. NML, we could pick up 50. So then it comes down to what you're comfortable with. And if you're paying attention just to the monthly dividend or the yearly dividend, even though this has a greater yield based on price, these two actually pay you more per month. It's kind of interesting. So if we make them all 50, you get a more accurate comparison. This has the greatest yield. This pays you more per month, right? That has the greatest yield, but that one's twice as much. And that's kind of why. Like if that, let's look at that. Let's say NBXG's average drops to 9, or their price drops to 9, but the dividend stays the same. So it's 0.1 times 12 months. So 0.1 per month for one share times 12 months divided by the share price you bought it at. So that changes this yield to 13.33. So long as the dividend stays the same and the share price drops, your entry yield for that single purchase goes up. Conversely, if that stays the same and that goes up, then the yield shrinks. So it's like, what do we want to do? GLO is paying about half the dividend they used to. That was their dividend last year. But even that, it's still not as good as technology. So oil, we are diversified upon. We own NML, FEI, KYN, KMF, which KYN and KMF are about to merge. But we're, say, of shareholder, so FEI, we own 100 shares. NML, we own 200. That's 300 shares. We're about to own like 400 shares in KYN based on the merger. So if NML dropped significantly, I would say yes. Like just the dollar cost average of things and the discount, and then that's a great deal. But for now, it kind of takes us out. Bonds. We own 200 there. We own 200 of DSL, which is all bonds. We own 200 shares of FACTS, which is all bonds. Plus these banking bonds. So we're covered on that end. Now, overall, it's the greatest deal. I mean, it's selling for pretty much 48 cents off. So if break in at 0%, if break even is $1, and something had a premium, like it was +2, then you're paying $1.02 for every dollar invested, or 2 cents over for every dollar invested. That's not a good deal. Break even would be break even. But if you're getting like a 48% discount, so that's an amazing deal. But all of these are amazing deals based upon their historical data. So CTR is a portfolio in a can. It's a great dollar cost average for us, but it's like there's better deals right now, I guess you could say. Bonds, we already have plenty of bonds. It would be a great dollar cost average. A great dollar cost average based on everything else. But where I lean is it's a split vote between technology, which doesn't meet up here. So let's look. The Morningstar doesn't automatically in the XG. Cats. Yeah, mostly technology, a little bit here and there. Not a bond fund. So where are they investing? Technology, but it's not just technology in the aspect of like John Deere uses technology for their tractors, or pick your car dealer uses technology in their cars. It's the technology infrastructure of things. Oops. You've got semiconductors and microchips and just overall data services. You've got, it's the infrastructure of things and not just technology outright. Like, yeah, there's T-Mobile there. Like, we think of phones as technology, but there takes a lot of other technology in order for that technology to work. And that's this portfolio. And as technologically based as our society has become, that's, from my standpoint and our portfolio, that's a great portfolio for the long run. I can pick up GLO cheap and get a ton of it cheap, right? But even then, it doesn't pay like this other fund. But if the dividend changes, then it would pay like the other fund, and it would pay better. So it's kind of my strategy, or I guess getting into my strategy for the week. So for me, it's a split vote. It's what GLO is now and what it could be. And it's the same thing for NBXG. We could double our holdings of either. I think both are great short-term and long-term buys. And they both fit our pricing requirement. So that is what I have for the week. Yeah, that's what I got. My top selections are those two. So if you like the content, consider subscribing to my channel. Hit the like button, and then head over to Facebook and join my group there called Navigate Your Finances. As you face the week, as you face the rest of your year, which is quickly approaching end of year, but as you face whatever you have coming, you are the captain of your ship. That ship will go wherever you lead it. So make sure you're leading it or steering it or navigating it in a direction that's beneficial for you. Whatever you have, make it happen. Shock your world. This is Daniel Young signing off. I will see y'all on another video. Bye-bye.